So let's talk a little bit about erasing history, namely, why that is such a ridiculous argument. Um, so lot of discussion, a lot of different views on whether or not taking down, say, Confederate monuments, Confederate statues, is erasing history. Um, and I see two main problems um, with that argument. The first one I think is very basic. Statues are not built generally to teach and to remember on a strictly fact-based basis. They're for honor. You build statues of people because you want to honor them. And sometimes people build statues because they want to honor themselves. Lots of dictators build statues of themselves. We won't go into the whole thing, but not having a statue is not the same as erasing someone or something from history. We should still have 100%. We should still have museums. We should have historical texts. We should have encyclopedias. We should have all of this written down somewhere, and let there be documentaries on subjects. Let there be, I'm not. The idea that it's erasing history, no. Because we're not erasing fact based information, the fact based dispersion of information. It's just getting rid of what's being done to honor, uh, Confederate soldiers, etc. And I do realize that some people have this idea that, even Confederate soldiers, somehow, even though they fought against the US, even though they literally fought against this country, that somehow they're still part of the US military that should be remembered, or because they fought bravely that they should be remembered. Lots of people fight bravely. Uh, you know, People who hijack an airplane and fly it into a building, to me, that takes balls. That's, uh, if you're willing to, that idea of being willing to die for something you believe in is not in and of itself a good thing or an honorable thing. There are people who are willing to die for good causes. There are people who are willing to die for evil causes. So that's the easy part of this discussion. That statues are the one and only way to learn history. No, they're meant for honor, and not everybody that's honored deserves to be honored. The second part, though, my second argument, is a little more complicated, and I think is going to really rub some people the wrong way. I think in a lot of ways, what a lot of, think of your stereotypical, you know, older white Christian conservative Republican, whatever, uh, is not actually afraid of history being erased. They're afraid of history being corrected. They are worried that the falsehood that surrounds a lot of our history is going to be exposed. And I think on a basic level, I think a lot of you can kind of see where this kind of thinking starts. Uh, you know, Even from the time you're a little kid, you're in school, you're taught that Columbus discovered America. Uh, you know, you're taught that Thomas Jefferson uh, one believed in all men being created equal. Uh, and that's not true. Columbus didn't discover America. Thomas Jefferson didn't just feel that all men are created equal because he had slaves. You know, we hear things like George Washington had dentures made out of wood. And there may be some truth to that. There may be some wood involved in his dentures, but they were also made from the teeth of slaves. That part they don't tell you in school. We learn about the first Thanksgiving. We learn that, well, some people say Indians, but let's say Native Americans, because, once you get past a certain age, you should know the distinction. That the Pilgrims and the Native Americans were buddy-buddy, and, just, sitting around singing Kumbaya, all that stuff. And yet, there's a lot in American history that we don't teach. We don't talk about the Trail of Tears. We don't talk about Japanese internment camps. We don't talk about Black Wall Street. And we don't talk about the Tulsa race massacre, the Tulsa Race Massacre. And that's because history was erased. And the people who want this new, rewritten, exaggerated version of history are the ones complaining about erasing history. Fighting for slavery is not something that should be honored. Does it take bravery to put your life on the line to fight for something, or to be willing to die for something? Yes, that's brave. But like I said earlier with the 9/11 attacks, that doesn't mean it's for a good reason. I find it highly, highly, highly ironic that the same people who are worried about that are worried about erasing history now are the same people who try to preserve the false history and celebrate the false history that we as a nation of basically always being controlled by white people, this false whitewashed omission of truth version of history is what they're worried about saving. They're not worried about the actual truth, and they're not worried about actual history. They just want their nice, comforting, white-friendly version of history, of really propaganda, to stand. And what's being done now in tearing down statues of Confederate leaders, stuff like that, that's not erasing history. That's correcting history. That's correcting what has already been erased and rewritten. I don't know how else to explain it. I also don't want to make this video too long. But it's something that I think we all need to realize. White people, I know I'm one of you. White people aren't concerned about the truth a lot of times. They are concerned about preserving the lies and the propaganda that make them look better. That's the problem they have with tearing down statues. Not erasing this history, but correcting it.